What is up, adventurers, and welcome to a brand new ShawnSetGO video. Today we're going to be talking about the issues with 11.1.5. So all those videos that I made at the release of this patch has sort of been validated by Ian Hazzikostas himself, and I think this has been a great summary of what's gone wrong with this patch and what is kind of been the mining canary that we are now realizing is becoming too consistent of an issue to not be a habit. So before we jump into that, of course, thank you guys for all the support in the videos past. We just put out a video about housing, so that's up live now. So if you want to see some of the previews, some of the thoughts, as well as some of the concerns that I have with housing, that video you can check out as well. But let's jump into this video, talk about it a little bit more. So in this post, there was a interview that Ian did with PC Gamer talking about the buggy release of 11.1.5. In general, it says he had said that it's not the experience our players are expecting or deserve. And I kind of want this to kind of be a spotlight, not only on a statement like this, but also on the player base, because I feel like the player base, whenever a lot of players were saying, hey, this is an issue, we understand, like, this is meant to be a catch-up mechanic for the players, but like it's not great whenever these things are released and they're problematic, they're buggy, or there's a lot of issues. It just weans people away from the further content patches when they're released in these buggy states. And people are like, this is a good in-between patch. Why are you complaining? It's free stuff. Like, you shouldn't be mad. Like, think about all the things you're getting. And it's this constant eroding of personal values, but then also grandstanding and like white knighting for Blizzard as a game development team when we get subpar releases. So I want that to be kind of the feature of this. And there might be some harsh words said back and forth, but understand that critiquing a game and asking for improvements, asking for things to be better, is just simply saying that this would be good if. Not this can't be good and isn't good. I mean, there are people who do say that, but I would guarantee if you look into a bit of critique, take some honest criticism and not just spout and then repeat all of the same, it's good for the game, like just quit complaining, the player base is so spoiled, then I think we could get some positive patches and some positive things in the game. So let's talk a little bit more about the interview. The interview, he says, the issue with Nightfall getting stuck and bugging out for players the first couple days was something that we needed to improve on. We fixed it as soon as we could. By the way, a lot of people are reporting that this is still an issue, but understandably, it's not the experience we're hoping for. It's not the experience our players are expecting or deserve when they log into patch day, and they're excited to check out the new thing. And then time gating. As part of the interview, the game director also spoke about excessive time gating. For those of you who don't know, the big one that we're going to be expecting is going to be with Horrific Visions, not only in the delay in its release that we're not getting it immediately, but it's going to be parsed out as far as how quickly you can earn those rewards. It's going to be spread out across the weeks that you can play the event. Although for the first reason is given many of the players' features were focused on PvE content and the developer didn't want them to overlap and overwhelm players too much. Honestly, I disagree with this wholeheartedly. I think that if you really have good content and you want people to do, like, hey, I want people to do world content, I want people to do this leveling content, and all of the content equals the same level of gear, which this is something I've talked about a few times. If all the content is adjacent, basically you do different activities but you get the same level of gear, like basically that beginner, veteran, maybe some champion level gear, then people are going to be bored with it. It seems like time gating is not just being used as a way to parse out content so people can keep their subs out. It seems like people are doing, like, it's being done simply to go, okay, you missed this event, now you can do this event instead. It's doing the same level of stuff. And so for those of us who join on or who play on patch days to experience the level of content, we immediately recognize, hey, this content isn't going to provide me anything additional other than maybe transmog, maybe mounts from what I already have. And so people are getting bored by content due to the lack of rewards. We are in a stage of the game where people don't necessarily need the best, most epic level of gear. We don't have to have the puzzle and cartel chip issue where we're increasing item levels and creating power creep within our own within the own season itself. That's happened before, but to get the same exact stuff it's not fun enough to do for the same exact stuff. So if you're not amping up the things that we get for war bands, if you're not amping up the things that we get for leveling our characters, if you're not amping up those rewards or giving enough diverse set of rewards for players, doesn't matter how much you time gate it out, you're just going to elongate people's frustrations really at that point. So this says, we're expecting and trying different approaches to live service events, different things that come and go. We have many mainstay of the seasonal rotation, raid tiers that are the anchors to the major pouches, but ultimately we're trying to interweave different variety into those experiences and on top of those experiences. A lot of those are going to be focused on the same sort of player motivation and goals. The thinking was, hey, it'd be far better if everyone and their time management, recognizing that we have 8 weeks into the season and there's still a lot of people spending a lot of time in raids and dungeons chasing those goals. That's a drop rate issue. Like, why, instead of fixing the drop rates or the lack in gear options for players, then maybe fix that instead. You know, maybe fix those issues. If we didn't dump all this on you at the same time, we could spread it out a little bit and let each one have its moment to breathe. I get it. I get that some of these events, you want to let that event get its limelight. I don't think the Hallowfall event, unless they were going to add a big chunk of story involved in there, was going to get any sort of limelight. The fact of the matter is, it's a few daily quests and a group world quest, and that's really it. There's not too much that has been really added, so it doesn't feel very thoughtful. Even if it was a small storyline, even if it was like an Undermine small little side storyline that was interesting, there was opportunity there to do that. And so if you really wanted to give it limelight, then give it depth in that way. That's all that I think needs to be added. Could more be added? For sure, but you're saying that this event needs depth, but in reality, it's like 3 group quests that you finish in 10 minutes and you're done. Or you can't finish it at all because doing the Hallowfall or the Nightfall event just it bugs out still to this day. Understandably, players are accustomed to patch day being the day when everything drops. We hear the feedback and loud and clear. It's quite possible we got the balance wrong this time and that there's too much being delayed and not enough that's available up front. And I think this was the thing, is like, if you featured horrific visions in the beginning as like going to be the main staple of this patch, and then you're putting it sort of at the end when people are falling off, it just feels like you're purposefully delaying it for everybody in the game. And so a lot of people are going to go, well, I'm just going to log out until this comes out. Or 2, they go, I'm going to play the bare minimum because the real event is going to be here. I don't want to put all my energy here. So it gives off that kind of vibe. We're not on tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Like, we're on tier 5 level time gating. Like, it's getting so complex that it's hard to keep up with how much we should care or like give feedback on, because it seems like what happens is they go, well, we're not going to take away the time gating. Let's tinker it. We're like, oh no, we just learned how to deal with time gating in this regard. Can we stop? And so I think the time gating, I know it probably can't be taken away altogether. I don't think time gating is necessarily incorrect to do in all cases all the time, but there is a problem with it right now to where I think we need to dial back on the content release, or the content releases being this spaced out. And then additionally, if we're gonna put these content patches in a way that's like, hey, here's the main staple, put that main staple in the release so people can enjoy it. And then if that feedback is given, it can be fixed, not put it so far into the patch that by the time people are giving that feedback, it's already done. Or it was provided so long ago that the people who provided that the alpha feedback when it first goes on the PTR or first is available, now it's like, well, those opinions are long gone. So now everyone's kind of forgotten. Once again, I've talked about this before. It begins to make everybody feel like Blizzard is complicit in these things. And instead of this content cadence, this regular content cadence in the game being an important aspect where we're keeping up with an important patch schedule and we're getting these maps of how it's going to go, instead of that being important to like us understanding the game and the future of the game, what's happening is once these patches come out and are released to the player base, it goes, we can't look back because we're too busy looking forward. And what happens to everybody who's playing those patches day one? They get poor first impressions, poor second impressions, third impressions, and it just kind of keeps on cascading. And so now we have the player base fighting each other of like, oh, why are you always jaded? Why are you just being toxically positive about the game? These are players who are playing the same type of content, but certain types of players are just over that much of just foot falling and missteps and just quantity over quality based mentality. And that's what it feels like. A lot of people talk, I mean, about this negatively to Ian like Ian's post and all these posts saying that like Ian needs to be fired. But we're at a stage right now where a lot of us, even though this is the case, don't want to see Ian, like the Ian to be switched out. We don't want to see Ian taken out of the game, because this is one person who is likely in a lot of ways is just a mouthpiece for a lot of things that happen. Kind of like it's his job to present it to us in a way that, you know, the bad can seem okay and the okay can seem great and the great is awesome. So in a lot of ways, he takes a lot of that heat. But can you imagine someone who doesn't have that experience and how worse it could be? Like, who could take that position and make it better without all of that background? It's like how many people have that amount of time in this game to do it better than them? But maybe that's something that needs to happen. Maybe we need to have a little bit more of new and change of what's happening in the old, because it's happening a lot. And it's happening over and over again, and people deserve better. And that's what they're saying. It's people deserve better. We want to do better every time we compare it to how we did last. The pace of the patches is faster, but doesn't reduce the team's commitment to quality. It doesn't feel like that, though. It really doesn't feel like that. So last statement here says, rather than say we're going to slow down and serve our players less, we'd rather ask, how can we polish this further? How can we tighten our processes so the things that slip through? So it seems like what they're trying to do, and maybe this is the right mentality to have, is basically in the next patch, we'll do better. And then the next patch comes up. In the next patch, we're going to do better. Over a long period of time, that graph is going to go up. It's going to go up. It's going to be like, well, patches overall got better. Yes. You know, the responses to them have overall gotten better. But it seems like with the time gating and how much we're spacing these things out, it seems like they're doing it to pad their numbers. Like, well, now you can see, look at this in this long, 8 weeks into a patch. It's now June, and look how much player retention we have. We have players playing the patch this far in, or this far into the season, but that's because the main part of it wasn't released until much later. It just seems like at a certain point, the politics of it all and like the logistics of it all, it's like we're doing this just to pad numbers and to make it look good, and that's not that it's actually good. Where when you look at the patch overall, it's hard to pinpoint what part you enjoyed. There's a lot of people still running off the high of season 2 has been good, so Mythic Plus has been good, so, or the raid was enjoyable, or you know, maybe it wasn't, but or maybe you got the gear early. Like, a lot of people are still riding off of that high, and so those negative aspects get kind of missed because you spread them so thin that at the end of a season, it's like, well, what do I remember being good? I remember Mythic Plus being pretty decent. I remember Horrific Visions being a solid, you know, solo for me, a good change of pace from doing delves the past 2 seasons. So overall, yeah, I'd say it was a pretty good season. But it mixed in all of that is a lot of bad, and that's what I think we're ignoring overall. So I wanted to make this video and talk about that, but of course we always talk about the comments. And so one of the first comments says, the issues with Nightfall getting stuck and bugging out for players the first couple days, that's something we need to improve on. I did the event yesterday, and halfway through my personal progression, it stopped giving me quests. The event still bugs. People are saying, let's replace him so we can finally expect old FOMO items to return, maybe even Spectral Tiger. People always saying that. Personally, like the time gating of multiple PvE events being released in a single patch. As was stated, it is a nice focus on an event for a little bit before the next one is released. Understandably, if the event you want most at the end of it can feel like a waste. The release style does put whatever the event is first under the microscope. And this is something that I think is important in what they're saying, is that time gating can be okay. As long as all the content is good, that's fine. But I feel like what it does, and this once again, this idea of padding the numbers and making them look good, you know, for the quarterly meetings and the earnings and the stocks, right? It makes it feel like, all right, we've released this Nightfall event. It's kind of subpar. Put all the criticism there. People will take anything at that point and go, it's good. So you release that cruddy little thing, everyone abandons it. Maybe some people like it for the leveling event and leveling up all their alts. A lot of people have enjoyed that aspect. And then when Horrific Visions comes out, a semi-controversial release, some people loved it, some people are not a fan of it because of their past experiences. People will enjoy it because things were so low at the beginning of that patch, but by the end of it, they were so good. So it kind of like it balances out. Instead of having a flat line and it just kind of plateaus and stays straight, now we have we can see that audible or that visible increase. It goes from low to high, and that's what I feel like. That's what I feel is happening. We see stuff like this. Really, Ian, if it's a known issue, we're going to get into it ASAP. I like the fact that weeks after it was first seen, the issue of battle pets in bank being unidentifiable is still not fixed. People talk about this, people talk about auto loot. People will bring up these issues if it's affected them personally to the end, because none of this stuff is on their radar. This level of checking the day-to-day things, it's not on their radar. It seems like their radar is focused on just the patch stuff, and that's it. Let's look a little bit at Reddit. Reddit says it's obviously out of Ian's hands at this case, but maybe just getting rid of large portions of Q18 was not the greatest idea. You know, whenever you see firings and then you see lesser quality patches, it's like, I wonder what would fix this. That would be a bummer. But I do agree. I don't think it's all Ian's fault. I think that Ian is in a position to take all the heat. I don't think he's blameless. I think that's the wrong move as well. But I do think that it's unfortunate that the moves that they're making can be directly attributed to the mistakes that that happen in the future. That's just kind of unfortunate. Title's misleading since since that line is specifically talking about the launch bug with Nightfall rather than the patch as a whole. I mean, it's talking about the patch as is, like this is where it's at. I think to a degree it's a messaging problem. If you want to space out your new content drops like this, fine, but don't advertise content as being part of the patch that's not actually going to be live until several weeks after the patch release. Yeah, so it's exactly, it's just like it's not what you say, it's how you say it sometimes. But then it's not then it's also the opposite in this case, where it's like it's not like what you're saying, it's your actions. Like what is actually happening. You could tell me, well, you're gonna get this content in the patch, okay, but what's actually happening? Well, we're getting it in the back half of the patch, and a lot of people are going to be done gearing by that point in their season 2 experience, so it's going to be released at a stage where you're going to get very baseline upgrades, and like you're really not getting a lot from this because you've already likely geared your characters by this point. So it's like that little conditional, that little asterisk that needs to be described as a disclaimer needs to be involved. That's what I think we're missing from things like this. But of course, let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts on this? What is your current experience with 11.1.5? Do you feel like right now this content cadence, these patches have been gotten progressively better? Do you feel like they're on the right path? Are you just tired of the back and forth of we hear you and then then another patch gets released, we hear you, another patch gets released, and just kind of this cycle? What do you feel like is the thing that you're dreading the most with Horrific Visions? Let me know in the comments. Of course, like this video if you liked it, subscribe to the page while you're at it, and of course, as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.